Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our October 12th Board of Education meeting. Relatively light on presentations today. We only have one, but it's an important one as we go through the academic report card for the past school year. Give us some, there'll be some good news in there, I think, and show some positive direction in our academics. Before we do so, though, I'd like to actually, with the board's indulgence, move up new business item number 1. So with that said, I'd like to take a motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. Then we will go right to new business item number 1, which is the approval of an ex officio student board member, Samantha Regalado. Is there a motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Ms. LaCara. All right, so this is the second year that we would have a student board member, an ex officio student board member, and they get to sit with the Board of Education. They don't get to vote, but generally we like to have them report on the things that are happening in the high school or throughout the district that are of importance to them. And this year, we have a little different role for the position. We're going to ask that student board member to sit on a couple of our committees to give feedback, our curriculum council and our health and wellness council. So we think that's a good way for them to get involved as well. So this year's student board member, once the board votes on it, is Samantha Regalado. Samantha is currently a senior at Walt Whitman High School. She's a natural leader who promotes acceptance and fosters diverse interests among her peers. She's the founder and the president of the Women in STEM Club, secretary of the Walt Whitman Fashion Club, and vice president of Voices of Walt Whitman. In addition to her leadership roles, she's a member of the World Language, Social Studies, English, and Mathematics Honor Societies, as well as the SAD Club and Science Bowl team. And with all of her extracurricular activities, she's managed to maintain a GPA of only 105.4. That's just a slacker. With such a diverse background, we know Samantha will provide important insight and perspective, and we'll be proud to vote to have her as our ex officio student board member. Does the board have any questions? All right, I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved that based upon the proposition passed by the community on May 18th, 2021, allowing a student to serve as an ex officio member of the Board of Education, the board hereby appoints Samantha Regalado, a senior at Walt Whitman High School, to serve as an ex officio member of the Board of Education through the balance of the 2022-2023 school year in accordance with the guidelines set forth in Education Law Section 1702. All in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations. I know you're joined by your dad today. I'm sure he's very proud of you, as he should be. And we're going to make it official. We have a nameplate for you. So we'll ask you to join us over here, but first we'll take a picture with the Board of Education. Samantha came on the strong recommendation of her principal, Ken Casa. Thank you for that work, sorting through those resumes. Would you like to say anything, Samantha? Don't put you on the spot. So. You want to just say a quick welcome? Or?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Samantha Regalado. They give you a brief description of me and who I am, but I just want to say that I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I truly do appreciate the time of everybody on the board and everybody here tonight as well. This is very important to me, and I hope to be really instrumental in voicing the voice of people who are underrepresented and just being a good influence, I guess, representing the student board in general. I really hope to give some productive insight, and I hope to be very beneficial, and I look forward to a great year with you guys. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right. Mr. Costa, did you want to say anything? Put you on the spot. Thank you. Great. All right. We will now go back to our presentations. We'll have the academic report card for the 2021-2022 school year. And with that, I will turn it over to, I guess, Dr. Murphy and Dr. Steele.
Okay, I think I'm ready. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Steele, and Dr. Murphy and I are happy to be able to share with you some of the data that we have been analyzing from the 2021-2022 school year. I'm going to begin by talking a little bit about our K-5 data, and then we'll look at some of the middle school data as well in regards to our iReady results. And then we'll talk a little bit about how we use that data to influence this year's instruction as well as moving forward and beyond. So we use iReady, the iReady data, as one of our main data points. Not our only data point, but one of our main data points. And all of our students take this diagnostic, and it gives us valuable information on their reading and math performances. In addition to giving us specific indicators on how they're doing in each area, it also gives us data telling us where students are performing relative to their grade level. Now, typically, in a typical time, we would compare data year to year. However, due to the interruption of the pandemic, we did not have valuable or really solid data from over the last 2 years to compare to. So we decided to go back to the last normal school year that we had, which was 18-19, and just take a look at the strides that we are making as far as progress from fall to spring administration of the diagnostic. Now, also can understand the fact that 18-19 was the first year that we were using iReady as well. So even though we're happy to make this comparison, we know that what we have this year will really be like a new starting point for us. But looking at the data and going back to 18-19, we were able to determine that we are at least almost back to where we are as far as making strides with progress. So looking at K2 in the area of math, you can see that there is an increase in students that are performing on or above grade level, and a decrease in students that are performing below grade level, which means we're moving in the right direction. And if you were to group all of the students together, if you were to group all of the students together, in other words, put all of the kids that were on and above together and all the kids that were below in one group, we're averaging about a 30% percentage points in an increase in the right direction for math. Similar strides with reading, around the 30% mark. And typically, most strides are seen in the kindergarten area. However, it was interesting to note in speaking to the teachers that this year's kindergarten is performing very strong, and we really believe that that's because this year's kindergarten is the first kids that are coming in that are experiencing an actual full school year last year. So we're happy to see that progress.
Has the iReady been administered for this year? Or?
Yes, we have administered the first diagnostic. We just finished the window. Actually, the window closes this Friday. Okay. So we don't have the fall data yet complete for this year. Okay. As for 3, 4, and 5, we're seeing similar strides as well. Again, moving in the right direction. In 3, 4, and 5, we're averaging between 20 and 30% percentage points of an increase in either direction. And interestingly enough, for 3, 4, and 5, at least for math, the strongest or the area that we're seeing the most improvement in was 3rd grade overall. And then similar for reading as well. For reading, we're seeing gains of about 15 to 20%.
Do you expect, I mean, if I'm reading this right, do you expect people to be one below? Is that the expectation?
Not, well, it's an expectation, but it happens. You know, we have kids that, you know, have learning disabilities. We have kids that are coming in where English is a second language. So we do see kids that are performing below grade level.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So the goal then is by the spring for them not to be one below anymore.
Well, remember, this is last year's data.
Okay.
This is last year's data. So we're going to use this as, you know, a base for the following year. Understanding that, you know, there will always be kids that are going to fall into those areas depending on their learning needs. So, for example, in our special needs population, we do have students that fall in our self-contained classes and our ICT classes, and some of those students do fall below. However, they are making strides within their own confines of their learning. So if we have students that might be on one grade level that's performing 2 grade levels below, they might progress or hopefully progress to become 1 grade level below, if that makes sense, depending on their learning need.
But we are expecting an upward mobility as we go into the spring. for sure.
Overall, yes. And similar comparison with the reading scores in 3, 4, 5. I think I just mentioned that with, again, gains in the right direction. The scores for 6, 7, and 8 are similar. Grade 6, we were seeing, we're back on par to about 20 percentage points of an increase in either direction. And middle school, historically, middle school has been a challenge here in South Huntington. Not just because it's middle school, we all say middle school, the developmental levels, it becomes a little more challenging. The curriculum does become more challenging. But one of the things unique to a district like ours is that we have a large influx of our ENL population at this particular grade level. And it's partly due to the fact that a lot of our students, the countries that they come from, it's when their free formalized learning ends in their countries. And they come to us and there are significant gaps in their learning. So we are looking for ways and have been looking for ways to address that. And now that we have this data, we do have a starting point to do so. And we do see that similarly with their reading scores. Now, although we are moving in the right direction, we know that we have a lot of work to do and to address all the areas that we just talked about. So one of the things that we're doing, starting with now, is a continuing review of the data that we collect. Again, it's not just iReady data. We also have classroom data. We also have benchmarking data, any types of projects or other assessments that are done in the classroom. And we use all of that collectively to determine the best path for students' instruction. So again, we're looking at last year's scores as basically a base point for us. And when we complete this year, we can actually compare more apples to apples and look at cohorts of children moving forward. We're also going to continue with our professional development in reading, math, balanced literacy, and Amplify Science. We also have the HMH science that's been introduced at the middle school level. We have introduced coding into grades 3 and 4. So we now have coding curriculum for grades 3 through 8. Grades 3 through 4 is being introduced through the library. Grade 5, we have the tech coaches that are teaching coding. Grade 6, we have coding as a standalone. 7 and 8 is being taught through their technology courses. And in grades 9 through 12, coding is an elective course at some point.
Can I just jump in there?
Yep.
Dr. Steele? Regarding coding, that it's at the grade 3-4 level, most districts do not have a coding curriculum in 3-4. They touch upon it with vocabulary and they play around with it a little bit, but as far as a true curriculum, we have that. We're one of the few districts, and we kind of priding ourselves on that. Give students those opportunities at a young age.
And we also do have a coding club for the primary kids. So some of our primary students are introduced to coding as well through a club format. So they do have opportunities at an early age as well. We are working on revising our report card to make it more aligned with the Next Gen standards and as well aligned to our own standards that we have for our children. And one of the things we're doing to address the multicultural backgrounds of our students is we're working with our consultant, Tracy Edwards, again this year to make sure that our curriculum is aligned with the New York State Culturally Responsive Sustaining Framework. And that's one of the ways that we're looking to address that population that comes in that we mentioned a little while ago, where there's gaps in their learning. And we're looking at what are we doing within our curriculum to provide them with the resources and access that they need to be successful. So again, this data we're looking at it as fresh data. I guess, again, we are focused on moving onward and upward as best possible. And, we have the right team now in place to do it. We have our professional developers that are working with us all throughout the year, and we're just looking to make strides along the way. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Murphy, who's going to talk to you about our graduation report and our AP data.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. Good evening, everyone. So I want to talk to you a little bit about AP, Regents, and graduation data. Before we go into it, this data is very particular because obviously this is the first data point after COVID and after 18 months of COVID. So we're really going to look at some comparisons. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the state did, comparisons for pre-COVID to post-COVID, so that we're comparing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. So one of the first things I want to talk to everyone about is just our graduation rate. So this is coming out of 18 months of a pandemic. We had a total of 490 students enrolled in the graduating class of 2022. Of that, 3 of them were early graduates. 15 of them were what we consider 5-year graduates, who were mostly E&L students. And despite some limitations we had with COVID, we still had 85% of our students attend a post-secondary program. You have to understand how important, and we'll go more into it, how important that is, given that we're a very diverse community, very socioeconomically diverse community. To have 80 to 85% of our students attend a post-secondary program is a good thing. It doesn't mean that we settle there, but it is a great thing to see, especially given the students that we serve, the students and families that we continue to serve.
It's actually kind of a stunning number. I was surprised at how few people go directly to employment in the district.
Well, because that really comes, I know the team at the high school, the teachers at the high school, really just the themes and trends of education, especially throughout K through 12, is that while it's great and people will go to the workforce, we know that it's much harder, that the percentage of students, and in order to get a great salary, you really need to have some type of post-secondary degrees or training, whether it be trade school, and this is something that's really impressed upon them from teacher to teacher, from guidance counselor to guidance counselor. So it is a good thing. After we move on to college, we want to talk about our diploma rate. One goal that we've had, even when I was principal there, and it was a combined goal of the administration, it's something that Mr. Costa has continued, as well as Mr. Smith had, into where Mr. Duggan is continuing, is that a Regents diploma is not just the only thing we want to have. We want to prepare our students for make them college and career ready. One of the most important things to do is to give them the skills and the classes to achieve an advanced Regents diploma. All advanced Regents diploma is an extra set of Regents exams, but it's also some extra coursework. And what that really signals to colleges is that that student is prepared to take on the rigors of college and some of the coursework that's associated with post-secondary degree programs. So as you see, I talked about our 85% students going to college. That same population, 60% of them are getting what's considered an advanced Regents diploma, and that's something that we're very proud of. Given the fact that number was somewhere around 35% only 6-7 years ago. So it's something that we continue to improve. And again, context is that this is past 18 months of pandemic where we were still able to keep those numbers high. Now, given some of the changes that we're going to look in Regents diploma scores, the state had thrown us some curveballs. We are a school that relies on students taking tests multiple times in order to ensure that our grades are successful. And the state kind of threw us a little bit of a curveball that did not incentivize the same way we've been incentivizing for years in students taking Regents exams.
Can you just,
Excuse me, go ahead.
yeah, it says here 442 combined, so that's 91%, and that leaves, then there were 490 students. So where are the other 48?
48 of those students, a good majority of them are life skills. So the state, when we record our data in terms of graduation or success, you have a lot of students that are within the life skills program, a good number, because as we brought those life skills students back into the high school a couple years ago, when they were not ours or were attending BOCES counted them as part of their graduate. It was not part of the high school's graduation rate into the state. So as we continue to keep more students that were in the life skills program, they're considered ungraded. They are actually considered dropouts. So those students, and whether we agree with it or not, this is just what the state defines life skill students because they did not ever attain a Regents diploma. They attained a diploma of a certificate of attendance.
Okay, because the requirement is every student has to
Yes,
have. the
and then we
Regents.
also, with ENL,
Okay.
as we register a student that's SIFE or interrupted in formal education, or somebody who, if they enroll with us for even a week, and they do not enroll anywhere else, say a 16-year-old comes from this country, or comes from another district, enrolls here, applies it, and then leaves and doesn't come back, they are counted as our non-graduation. They're counted as a dropout on our records.
So they don't
That's
get-
why registration is so important. That's why, obviously, and it's also, why it's so important that we keep meticulous records of attendance and registration.
So they don't get an actual diploma. They just get a certificate that they were.
A life skill student only gets a certificate of attendance, yes.
Okay.
So just to give some perspective of trends, the red bars are a 7-year trend of how many students over the last 7 years have gone to post-secondary programs. And the blue bars are how many advanced Regents diploma rates that we've gotten in the last 8 years. As you can see, and what we wanted to show is we've always maintained a very high threshold for students going into post-secondary plans. And in perspective, it's very similar to even pre-COVID. While we want 100% to go, we know that's not realistic, but that's always the goal. But we're still seeing the same trends that we continue to see from year to year despite the pandemic. Also, with our advanced Regents, as I told you before, in 2015, there was only 38% of our students were receiving an advanced Regents diploma. At that point, we hit a real high threshold in 2021, provided graduation requirements, and we moved that up to 65, whereas last year in 2022 it's 60%. And we know that our goal is 100%. Our goal is to continue that trend, but we know that while it may not be a realistic goal, it's always a goal that we're going to try to push for, and then make sure that our students are doing the best they possibly can. So as I mentioned before, graduation rates. What I did is I took the last time the Regents results were provided in 2018-19, where we had Regents scores, to this past June. Now I said again, we are a district that relies on students taking it multiple times for mastery and or college and career. When the state said that those that received a 50 to 64 would get credit, although they did not pass the course as they would have in previous years, we lost the ability to get students to retake exams. So what we did is we gave you two numbers. That 21-22 is the one and only time that a student took the exam. What we saw is we identified in math and science. These are things that Dr. Murphy, myself, as well as the high school and middle school principal are going to continue to look at and work on, because we saw that there was significant gaps from COVID in math and science subjects, whereas English and social studies pretty much maintained from previous pre-COVID years. But if you look at the yellow highlighted, that is where the safety net, or what the state did in terms of giving credit to those between 50 and 64. And if you look at some of them, are either higher, but a lot of them are very similar to the numbers we had pre-COVID, because that's probably what we would have attained if we had people taking multiple exams, or multiple times, excuse me. Want to shift now our focus to AP. It's been a big initiative among our district to make sure we get students college and career ready. That's not just through Regents exams, that's also through taking advanced level coursework, because we know, and statistics show, as if students take a college level course in high school, they are more successful and prepared to take something at the college level. So what we're going to focus right now on AP exams, and what we've done, and this has been a significant shift, is we've focused on getting students, not only more students, but more tests or exams through the high school being taken at Whitman. This is just a 5-year trend. This is not the full, but we just gave the last 5 years. And as you can see, we have about a 17% increase from 2018 to 2022, from 492 students to 542 students. I'm sorry, 10%. And then a 17% increase in the number of exams, from 872 to 1,050. Although we've increased the number of, and not only have we increased the number of tests and exams, we then have increased the number of students scoring a 3 or higher. For an AP exam, a 3 is pretty much your threshold for passing. It goes 3, 4, and 5. So we really push for students to get at least a 3, if not a 4 or 5. And what we looked at is wanted to give a comparison pre-COVID to post-COVID. If you look at 2018-19, we had a 73 and 71% pass rate, meaning a 3 or higher, whereas this past year in 2022, we had a 73, almost exactly what we had pre-COVID. So one great thing we saw is that, especially in our advanced level courses, that we didn't see the drop-off that we did in some of our other courses in terms of students being successful with AP exams. even though we've increased the number of students and the number of tests. One of the other focal points that Gail and I actually had the privilege of presenting at New York State with the New York State Department of Education was our trends in students of color taking advanced level coursework. So over the last 6-7 years, it's been a significant push to make sure identify students of color that have the ability and to achieve high and higher level coursework, and then push them into taking whether it be an honors, college level course, or AP level course, so that they're better prepared for post-secondary, for the post-secondary world. And as you can see, the trend, the red bars are students, are Hispanic students, and in the last 6 years, we've moved from 132 students taking AP, or 132 exams in 16-17 to almost doubling in 227. So it's a 50% increase in the amount of students, Hispanic students, taking AP exams. We also then look at our students of color is our black students, where we have almost doubled again the amount of tests that some of our black students are taking over the last 6 years. This is we are nowhere near where we want to be, but this is the trend that we want to continue to see moving, because we feel that the rising tide brings all ships up, and we want to make sure that we keep pushing to make sure all students are successful in AP and college level coursework.
Those represent the number of actual individuals, right?
Yes.
Okay, not exams.
Yeah, exams. Individuals. Excuse me. One of the things we began, and it was funny because we didn't know how it would take, there's what they call an AP Capstone program. What Capstone really is a college literacy course that prepares students at the high school level to take on college level research. That's being able to take term papers, midterms. When talking to colleges, we have found that the biggest disconnect, or the biggest place where students struggle, is when they get into their first class and say, hey, we want you to write a 20-page article or 20-page paper with 3 primary resources, 20 secondary resources, and it has to be APA certified, and it has to be APA aligned with APA standards. And then they go, I've never done this in my life. How am I going to do this? And it becomes they're not successful at it. So AP or College Board put in an AP Capstone program that really focuses on students' research ability. It's a 2-year program, and they get an actual diploma. And what this diploma does, it identifies colleges saying this student has been certified to be able to do actual post-secondary research. When we started this program, and not every school district in Long Island has it, when we started in 2020, there were about 8 districts across Suffolk County. There's now about a little over 25, but we were one of the first ones to come in. In 2020, we saw 8 students get a capstone diploma, because that means it started in 2018. We moved through 2 years. By last year, 2022, we had increased that number to 21, with, I believe, this year potentially being over 30. Okay, so we're definitely moving in the right place.
There's no exam for that?
There is an exam. There's
there is.
actually a research, and then there's a short exam, but the research is what's primarily your grade, is your research paper. And the first year, which is AP Seminar, it is a group, or they provide you the topic. In AP Research, was the second year of the course, you actually pick the topic and have to define the parameters of your research. So, even though COVID has hurt us in terms of students, even the amount of students going to college, we saw a little bit of dip. The amount of college credits that Waltham High School gives is phenomenal. Just to give perspective, we offer 31 AP courses at the high school, with 26 courses getting the ability to get college credit. This is just 6 of the colleges that we give credit to. And what does that mean? Well, I have to be honest with you, the average student, 50% of our students at Walt Whitman High School come out with at least 6 credits from college. Most of them come out with 12. That's a semester of college. The average cost of a SUNY school is $30,000. That's a $15,000 savings for every 12 to 15 credits that you're getting, and that's the average of what our students are coming out with. So this is an amazing feat we're able to get, and we hope to get more students to get involved with this, because obviously in the district we serve, the more savings we can give our parents and make sure a student go in, not only successful, but saving themselves money and being able to focus on other courses that they may want to be able to define what they want to do with life, is the most important thing. So that's why we make sure that this is something that all students have access to. So some of the focal points that we've focused on is that we continue to give staff and our students, that we continue to address the gaps and deficiencies, that through constant research of data, as Dr. Steele said, as well as us as Regents results and Regents data that we look at. we continue to provide professional development to our teachers to make sure that we're analyzing this data and then helping to provide the supports to make sure that all teachers are successful as in by subject and even by individual teacher. And we're going to continue to focus on identifying students of color that at an early age to identify whether they should be in advanced level coursework so that we can continue to improve upon the numbers we currently have. And as I mentioned before, Gail and I were very fortunate that what we've been able to do, we were asked to be identified by the state, and we actually were on a webinar with the New York State Department of Education to talk about the work that South Huntington's done in terms of students of color and achieving advanced level coursework. And any questions?
Great. Questions from the board or Samantha? Mr. Bronson?
Yeah, I said, one was a comment, one was a comment that now we're sort of watching the grades and tests and everything else. Like you guys on our site and said that the ACT scores are the lowest they've been in a long
Yep.
time. Yeah, that.
ACT and SAT.
Yeah, from COVID, so I just wrongly impacted. The other question I had was I noticed you had a little, like I said, a little bit of a decline as far as the students in colleges. Was there any impact as far as just full curiosity on how many went out of state versus in-state? Did COVID impact? Was that closer? Not impact at all?
Funny, yes, a little bit of a dip, not so much as I thought I would see, because even the ones that stayed in state or local, what residents stayed at their college. So we didn't see much of a difference there. Where we did see, and I believe, and obviously, and Ms. Paprillo has talked about it extensively, we've talked about it last year, the social emotional factor of students. We saw a decrease, and really a lot of them took last year's took gap years. The anxiety levels of being able to go to a college. Some of them went to Suffolk. Some of them didn't enroll and took until the middle of last year, so they would still count as non-enrollment of a secondary for us. So we did see some tweaks, and that's something that I know that April and the social workers and their team has been working on for the social emotional issues that our students face. And I know that's something Mr. Costa and the APs have been working on, just being support structures for kids and helping through the college process and the anxieties associated with it.
Thank you.
On this chart, it would be helpful. Can you give us the numbers of students so like we could determine the percentage? You know.
No problem. I can give you that. I can give you that later. I'll go get to the total numbers.
Great, and good work, and obviously the rigor is great, and the number of students taking the APs is significant. That's due to some of the changes that we made. You know, years ago you really couldn't take, when I went to school, certainly you couldn't take an AP course until a junior or senior year, and now a lot of people are taking them in freshman year.
The earliest one we give now, and that was 3-4 years ago, is now 9th grade.
Yeah.
And there's more to come. I know Dr. Murphy's been. Mr. Blair just went to an AP consult summit with Wisconsin Closies, and they're even talking about adding more AP exams as far as AP curriculum, because the studies show the more AP tests, not that you want to overburden the students, but the more you experience, the more successful they are at the college level. And that's really where it has to be.
Yeah. I had 2 in my career here, and I note looking at Samantha's transcript, you had quite a number already. So.
Yeah. How many courses have you taken so far, Samantha?
I think I would have taken 8 by the time I graduate,
By the time.
but I found it really interesting how I think it became permanent. The removal of honor social studies from 11th grade and to replace it with just AP US history. At first, I was very skeptical of that, just because I was scared of other students' success, because usually they need that middle ground and that support. But from what I've heard, it's been all right, and students are really liking it. And I think it's great that there's a variety of teachers teaching it as well, because if one teacher doesn't explain it the way you need it, you have the other outlet. But I think it's great that we're kind of pushing that more, especially into 11th grade, and kind of giving that ultimatum, because I've seen a lot of my friends who are starting college this year, who graduated last year, a lot of them who didn't take as many APs are kind of struggling already. So seeing that increased push, I feel will be very beneficial in the long run and getting them prepared. Because I know that my APs have helped me manage classes a lot more efficiently and kind of handle my time better. So I'm really excited to see that shift actually, even though I was skeptical of it at first. I think it actually was very good stuff.
Great, thank you.
That's something we talked about last year about raising the bar, and hearing what you're saying now about how it's working and moving. That's a credit to everybody. Great news. Thank you.
All right. Good report. Thank you, Dr. Steele, Dr. Murphy. A lot of work went into that, and thank you to Ms. LaCara as well for serving on the Curriculum Council and reviewing the report. All right, that ends our presentations for today. We will now move back to our business agenda. And we will move into items C through F, minutes, financial items, and bills. They require one resolution for adoption. Is there a motion for items C through F? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on items C through F? All in favor? Any opposed? And just to note, Ms. Meyer is not here today. She's traveling on work purposes, so that's the reason. Moving on to item H is communications, and we have two communications. Our first communication is from Sajad Akbar Malik and Sadia Malik. Are you here today to speak to your letter? No? Okay. There's a request for a school bus issue. All right, moving on to communication number 2. It was an email to the Board of Education from Jane O'Toole regarding the Wildcat Booster Club. Ms. O'Toole, are you here? No. Do you want to address your letter?
No, just wondering if there's an update on the financial review.
I'm sorry?
I just wondering if there's an update on the financial review that the district is doing.
I can say that it's in progress. So no final outcome. Okay. All right, moving on back to new business. We have new business items. We already did new business item number 1. Moving on to new business item number 2 is the approval of a donation. Motion. Mr. Joyner, second. Mr. Biangasso. Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, we'd like to thank the Huntington Manor Fire Department for a very generous donation of $5,000 to beautify our Stimson courtyard, and we know it needs it. So we're very thankful to them and the partnership that we have. So thank you to Chief Brady.
Okay, thank you, Dr. D'Elia. Very nice donation. Any questions from the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution carries unanimously. Moving on to new business item number 3 is the approval of an overnight field trip. Motion. Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, this is, I'm very happy to announce this has been the annual field trip pre-COVID to Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, my son missed it as an 8th grader, so I'm very happy to see it go back with our Stimson kids. They'll be attending some of the museums, some of the National Historic Sites, and they'll be able to, it really is nice to see back that the 8th grade trip is back and in full force.
Great. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? That's a great trip. Lots of history there, and it's a really positive experience for the kids. Moving on to new business item number 4 is the approval of data and security agreements. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. Steele.
Yes, we have 4 agreements tonight. One from Island Photography, the photography company. The Jostens is the yearbook company. First in Math is an online math program for K-8, and Think Circa, a literature program used at the middle grades. And of course, they have all agreed to secure our students' data.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Steele? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 5 is the amendment to a lease agreement with Camp W. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. LaCara. Dr. Senamore.
Thank you, Mr. Sciabetta. So this has been a mutually beneficial, long-standing win-win relationship with Camp W, who operates a summer camp at Birchwood. Been a great relationship. This amendment extends the lease and puts in place some robust percent increases in terms of the rent.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Senamore on the lease? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Dr. Senamore, for your great negotiation skills on that. I know it's been a productive relationship, and Camp W also is very successful, so well-run camp. Moving on to new business, item number 6 is the secret approval for a security vestibule at the James Caden Administrative Offices. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Ms. LaCara. Dr. Senamore again?
Thank you. So what normally is the case with capital projects, the district, the architect, engineers on behalf of the district has to do an environmental review, which is where the secret comes in to determine if there's any environmental impact. And in terms of the pending vestibule to be built here, the James Caden Administrative Offices, it was determined to be a type 2 with no environmental impact.
And that vestibule has been discussed before the board and the facilities committee. Part of the funding would come from the grant that we received from Assemblyman Stern and Senator Gorin. Any questions on this? All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is the recommendations for the placement of students by the Committee on Special Education and the Committee on Preschool Special Education. Various dates listed in March, April, May, June, July, August, and September, as well as October. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, second. Mr. Bronson. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And lastly is a motion to attend a conference hosted by the Nassau-Suffolk School Board Association called the Offshore Wind Energy and Manufacturing Industries Public Education Expo. It's a mouthful. Is there a motion? Mr. Joyner, second. Mr. Bronson. So this will be hosted at the Cradle of Aviation on Wednesday, November 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. And it's talking about winds of change, and these winds of change are coming very quickly. Offshore wind energy is a reality, and it is coming very soon, and we think there's lots of job opportunities there, so this goes with our STEM curriculum. And I see from Dr. Murphy's memo that various administrators are going to be attending, including himself, Mr. Murphy, Ms. Hahn, and Mr. Blair, but board members are certainly welcome to attend as well, and probably recommended. It's 6 to 9, and they provide hors d'oeuvres, but I've been promised that it's worthwhile. So if any board members would like to attend, please let Ms. Caliendo know. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Did you say you wanted to attend, Mr. Jenner? Yeah. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, Mr. Bronson? Okay. I'll probably attend myself, so. Yeah. Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, anyone that wants to come. So. Good. Okay. Moving on to personnel, we have personnel schedule 9, 11, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 22. Is there a motion for personnel? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on personnel? All in favor? Any opposed? Personnel schedules are approved. Information and reports are listed. Of note, there's a Birchwood and Maplewood track and field event. The Maplewood track and field event is on October 17th, and the Birchwood is on October 18th. We also have received an invitation from Carmen Casper, the Director of Human Services in the town of Huntington, inviting us to join the town of Huntington on Friday, October 21st at 7 p.m. in Town Hall, in the town boardroom, for Hispanic Heritage Night. All right, that's information reports. Committee reports, we have one committee report. Chef Committee update, Mr. Scragg.
Well, like everyone this year, South Huntington Educational Foundation is excited that we have a normal school year once again. They're looking at this year a little bit different than they have in the past. They're looking at some new avenues for fundraising. One of those is that they've pinpointed that they're going to be doing fundraising, selling snacks and things like that at our musical and our concerts, things like that. So they see a need there, and they're going to fill that need and raise some funds for our district. They're doing something fun this fall. They're doing these chef bios, where on social media, if you have Instagram or Facebook, every couple of weeks they're posting kind of a picture of somebody on the Educational Foundation and just a little bit a bio about them, so that you can get to know who these people are a little bit better. And then just looking ahead. We are also excited to bring back what used to be called Miles for Michael, but this year will be called Chef in Motion, and that is our 5K run walk, and that will be on May 20th, 2023.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's a great fundraiser. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can never make it up Janes Hill, though.
Yeah. My wife is currently training to
Yeah.
make it up there.
I take the alternate route. I cut
Yeah.
out. Thank you, Mr. Scragg. Okay, future meetings are listed. Notably, our next meeting is October 26th, where we will receive the audit report from Mary Ann Van Dyne, as well as Board Recognition Night, which is always exciting. And then we have meetings on the 16th and also December 14th to close out the 2022 meeting schedule. Comments by board members? Mr. Bronson.
I was just going to add that the audit committee met last week, and so we got a preview of the external audit report that R.S. Abrams is going to present for us at the next board meeting. The good news is it's a good report, and I'll just leave it at that for this evening.
All right. Coming attraction, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments by board members? Comment by Superintendent of Schools.
Yes, I just would like to thank everybody involved with homecoming weekend. It was unbelievable, from the very first event on the carnival at Walt Whitman High School over to the Powder Puff game, the next day with our parade and football game, a winning football game. And I can tell you that the feedback that I've received in my office from the community has been overwhelming. And, I thank everyone who helped and made homecoming really a community event. And that has been the focus of the district, is to really and continue to push in that direction. And I think we were pretty successful this year. Mother Nature helped out as well. So, because my home district had homecoming the week before, not so good. But it's an effort by everybody, and I thank the community for that. And it's our pleasure and our joy to bring those kind of events to South Huntington. So next on the list is Winter Wonderland. So we already have some creative ideas going for that. So we'll surprise you when the time comes, but we're excited about it. Also, we have an event this Friday night. There was this bald guy with glasses that I think started it about 12, 13 years ago, the Maplewood Bowl. And Dr. Hender's doing a great job of continuing it, and we're looking forward to, and I think Mother Nature may be okay. Not so much tomorrow. I think Friday it should be okay, so we're looking forward. I'm sure it's going to be very, very well attended. And I know Dr. Murphy has been doing wind sprints each morning before he starts his day. So.
We better get the trainer there.
A few of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia. This is also the time generally in our meeting where we'll hear from the student ex officio board member. We've added that to our agenda. We left it off for tonight to get you your sea legs, but at the next meeting you can give a report and update during that time, Samantha. I also want to echo what Dr. D'Elia said about homecoming. I think a lot of people said that this was the most successful homecoming we've had. We were joined by Tax Receiver Jillian Guthman, Assemblyman Steve Stern, and Suffolk County Legislator Bontempi. And Legislator Bontempi was really, it was her first time marching, and she was just overwhelmed by the parade. She really didn't realize how spectacular it was and how long it was and how many participants it was. So I think it was very impressive to all. Also want to give congratulations to one of our own, Dr. Gabe Bullock. She was inducted into the Nassau County High School Athletics Hall of Fame. She's a former Hempstead High School track star and a dominant sprinter and middle distance runner during the 1980s, and she earned All-American status. This was a monumental achievement, and she still holds state and national records today for participation in the 4x200 relay at the Eastern States Women's Track Championship at Harvard University. So congratulations to Dr. Bullock. Okay, voice of the residents. Any residents like to address the board? All right, with that, we will take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. LaCara. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you.